Hi everyone, welcome to another session of Training Tips with Ward. In this video, the video that follows the video clips, I'd like to discuss the Flexi, that often maligned piece of extraordinary training equipment. Now recently, you will have seen on the internet, I'm sure, various postings that decry the dangers of a Flexi. They will say the Flexis will cut dogs' legs, they will tangle up, they will cut handlers' fingers, and so on. Well, let's take a quick look at the Flexi and also try to get some understanding of why this particular opposition to the use of the Flexi exists. First of all, the Flexi is simply an extendable leash. The Flexi has a little lever and a little button on the handle. What that is a brake and a lock for the brake. In other words, as long as no brake is applied, as long as there's no tension, no pressure on the switch, the Flexi will extend its lead. If, however, I simply push down on the lever, you'll see how the Flexi stops the extension of the cord. Well, what's happening here? Why are people so concerned about the Flexis? Will they do the things that are mentioned? Yes, they will. How do they do them? Well, it's fairly easy to see. If you go along with a Flexi and take the Flexi into a group of dogs, and your dog is on the end of the Flexi and your dog starts running around and you don't have the brake on lock, then what can happen is the dog will tangle other dogs in this cord, and it's a very thin cord, and the cord can wrap around and cut legs and injure other dogs. So, lesson from this, you never use a Flexi, or you should never use a Flexi with other dogs in a group. Second thing that might happen with an inexperienced handler is that the Flexi is pulled out and the handler forgets to take the thumb off the brake. And the dog starts coming back in. And when it does that, the cord starts to dangle and end up in loops on the ground. What the handler that is inexperienced then does is they reach out to grab this cord with their hands as though it were a leash and pull it in. And of course, what can happen then is you get wrapping around the finger, tightening, burns, and cuts. Well, what's the answer to this? The answer, in a nutshell, is that people that use Flexis absolutely need to be taught how to use them, the same way that people that drive cars have to be taught how to drive the car. So that means that nobody, no novice handler, should be handling these things unless they have been appropriately trained in the use of the Flexi. Well, what are the good things then about the Flexi? To my mind, the Flexi is a very, very significant piece of the training equipment that we use. Why? Primarily because it allows us to have control of the animal at a distance. And in terms of the way I train, and I often refer to it as my training mantra, I think of stationary before moving, slow before fast, near before far, and attitude before accuracy. Those four principles make up my training mantra. Now, the near before far, or close before far, is the one that we're particularly concerned with in terms of dealing with a Flexi. Having said that, as a brief introduction, Let me demonstrate some of the ways the Flexi can be used to help us train our dogs. With a Flexi, there's simply an on and off with the brake. The brake is the button on top, and it's simply thumbs down, thumb up to release it. Thumbs down stops it, thumb up lets it come in. Now, that's where sometimes difficulties occur. You have to remember to get your thumb off the brake if your dog is coming toward you. Otherwise, it won't spool in. Won't spool in the cord, and the cord gets all over the ground, and the dog gets tangled in it, and so on. But in terms of the drop-on recall there, what I did was holding my hand, sit, like this, with a 90-degree angle between the forearm and the upper arm, simply hit the brake at the point where I gave him the signal and gave a little tug back like that. And that, by the way, is the way a Flexi should be held and used. Not like this. That allows you to make a slight tug on the Flexi. I'll just clip it on. And what I want to do is show how this can be used on the long sit. For example, we tell our dog to sit, and then we leave the dog, go to the far side, stand there. In preparation for that particular behavior, I like to take and put the Flexi on the dog, have him sit, and then have one hand holding the Flexi and my other hand ready to push on his chest if I pull on the Flexi. So it would look like this. Stay, stay, and I'm pulling and pushing at the same time. Then I continue the steady pressure of the pull and slowly take my hand away from the dog's chest. Now, Dash has been trained, so he's going to hold that position. Well, why do I do that? Because I want to be able to use the opposition reflex in training this exercise so that the dog learns to push back and hold on to his spot. Dash. So let's just take a quick look at that. Stay. Spool it out. Stand holding, watching the dog, and slowly putting tension, steady tension on him. If he looks away, I'm going to give him a little tug because I would like to have him looking at me while I'm doing this. So steady pull, and then return to the dog. Go around the dog, walk back out, and steady pull. Dash. So there he looked away. I didn't want him doing that. So he got a couple of light corrections, tugs. Hey, watch me. Attaboy. Good guy. So it allows us to have control at a distance. Otherwise, to correct that, I would have to go all the way up, correct him, and then turn around and go back. This way, I can have some control over my dog at a distance. This is a good time to also mention training attention with a Flexi. We start it from the side of the dog at stationary attention. Then we want to go out and build distance. And what we normally find is that the dog is fine at a short distance, but as we get farther and farther away, the dog wants to look around. So watch me. Attaboy. Good watch. Here we have him at stationary attention, and he's watching, which is what I want to see. And now I'm going to leave him. I'm going to go out just a short distance, turn and face him. Stay. So it allows me to get out a little farther than a leash. Good watch. Watch me. Yes. Yes. Good watch. Good watch. And big steps to the other side. Watch me. Atta boy. Good guy. Now, during this period, I can give him a little tug if I want, if he looks away. Good boy. So then I might go out a little bit farther and try to build distance. Distance, by the way, is the variable or the thing that I think is most often not recognized for the difficulties that it can get us into. So I'm working on attention with him. He looked away. He got just a little slight tug, and he knows, oh, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be watching you. Watch. Good watch. Hey, good guy. So I'm going to go to the other side. I want him following me and watching. I want his eyes and his head following me as I'm doing this. And they are doing that just now. And then we can return to our dog. Take up our position at heel position. Attaboy! In the recall exercise, it's nice to use the Flexi sometimes in training. And when you want the dog to come, just give him a light tug. And remember, this is a flat collar that I'm using. I'm not giving him corrections or harsh corrections. To demonstrate that, stay. Dash, come. Close. In the drop and recall, one has to be particularly careful about the time that they apply the brake. You want to apply the brake just after the dog starts to go down. You don't want to give the dog the signal, have the dog start going down, and then hit the brake, because you'll spool line. So I'll demonstrate that right now. Drop and recall. Stay. Come. Come. Close. Back. Sit back. So the Flexi can also be used with the broad jump. I normally start my puppies on Flexi, on light Flexi, and with the broad jump, I'll just have them on run-bys with the Flexi and going over a single board. So just to demonstrate that, stay. Flexi's being spooled out. Dash over. Close. On the retrieve on the flat, when the dog goes to pick up the dumbbell and his jaws are just going over the dumbbell and he closes on them, that's when you should hit the brake and give a little tug to get him coming back straight away. So let's have a look at that. Take it. Give. Close. Yes. Good. Take it. Hold. Good hold. Good hold. Give. Close. On the moving stand, I will normally take the Flexi, hold it behind my back, And as soon as I give, at the same time that I give the signal command, the command for the stand stay, which to me is just a knife cut across, I will hit the brake on this Flexi and give it a little tug back. So just to demonstrate how that is used, strut, stay. It then spools out, and you can apply pressure to the lead to make sure the dog doesn't move. I'm using the opposition reflex in this case. With the signal exercise, I sometimes use the Flexi if the dog is showing hesitancy in terms of giving me a particular behavior on command. So in that case, what I do is hold on to the Flexi and just move my hand on the Flexi line the way I would if it were a leash. To demonstrate that, close. Close, sit. The Flexi can also be used on scent work, scent articles. Just to demonstrate that, I'll scent an article, keep them on the Flexi, let them go work the pile. Now this is handy. Of course, if you get a dog that's pausing in the pile, you can just give it a light tug, and usually they'll snap out of it right away. Also, you'll notice my left hand is on the lead, the first part of the lead, the nylon tape part, and I can therefore hold him in position if necessary, just help guide him on the turn. He'll watch. Find. Whoa, is that ever fast? If you have a dog that sometimes mouths and you want to work on that or you want it to stop, one way the Flexi can be used is to simply take the dumbbell, wrap it around a couple of times, clip it onto the line, and sit. No, sit. I know it's your dumbbell. Take it, hold, and apply tension. The mouthing will stop because of the tension that's placed on the line, and the opposition reflex kicks in. Now you can do that up close, then you can build distance. Good hold, good hold, good hold. Pass the Flexi over to your left hand, in my case. Come. Now when he sits is the time that most dogs, or many dogs, will start their mouthing. And so over here, I've got tension on the line, and the dog is holding it. Give. What a good guy. Heel. Up, stand. And you can do a series of short recalls. Come. Yes, tension. Stay. Come. Stay. Good boy. And give. Close. Cut. So I've demonstrated some of the various ways that a Flexi can be used advantageously in training for competition obedience. Just to review that, the Flexis that I use are small. I mean, you can get different sizes, you can get tapes, you can get different types, and so on. The ones I use are the Flexi brand because they last the longest. I like the cords because with the cords, it's extremely light and the dog doesn't notice it. It's not like having a ribbon there and so on. Remember that there's only two real things that you have to do. Push your thumb down when you want to pull, lift your thumb up when you want it to go out or come in on its own. The Flexi controls going out, going in. You control the tug. So it's simply a case of pressing on the lever, putting the brake on, tugging, and immediately letting it off so it'll spool in. For example, if I were to, in a retrieve, training a retrieve, let the dog go out, pick up the dumbbell, hit the brake, pull, but forget to let my thumb off the brake immediately, what would happen is the Flexi would start spooling onto the ground, the dog would be running back and liable to get tangled up in it. Now, I'm not suggesting that the Flexi is the be-all and end-all. I'm not suggesting that necessarily you as a trainer should use it. And certainly no one should use it if they haven't initially been coached on how to use it and use it safely. They're not meant for going in with a group of other dogs. In particular, I like them only for training used in the manner that I've described and demonstrated. By doing this, there is almost zero risk to your dog. If I see someone coming towards me on a sidewalk with two dogs on Flexis, I am immediately very, very cautious. So if you want to try them, but remember the safety tips that I've mentioned, and make sure that you get someone to coach you and show you how to use these things when you initially try it. Don't simply go out, buy a Flexi, put it on your dog, go for a walk. Please don't do that. As I said, it's a great training tool. It's one of the most powerful training tools, I think, in our bags. So having said that, that ends another session of Training Tips with Ward. I hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget, have fun training your dogs.